Hello and welcome. President Muhammadu Buhari reiterates his call on Nigerians to continue to exercise patience and show understanding over the inconveniences created by precautionary measures taken for COVID-19, especially the regulations on places of worship. In his salah message to Muslims on the occasion of this year's Eid al-Kabir celebration, President Buhari says the outbreak of coronavirus has made it difficult for people to gather in places of worship as they're used to, urging worshippers to abide by the guidelines for the safety of their lives and loved ones. In his words, the coronavirus has had a devastating adverse impact on our social, economic, and spiritual lives. The preventive guidelines we have introduced to contain the spread of this deadly disease has unfortunately limited people's freedom to gather and worship in large numbers in mosques and churches. Every measure that has been introduced to contain this disease may have its unintended consequences on the daily lives of our people, and I therefore call on Muslims and other faithful to continue to show more understanding with the government as we take correct steps to protect our people through social distancing. No elected government will intentionally take away the people's religious freedom by limiting the number of people that will gather in worship centers at the same time. The guidelines are dictated by necessity in order to safeguard public health and should therefore not be perceived as infringement on people's rights to worship. President Buhari commended the sacrifices of Muslims and Christians in abiding by the COVID-19 guidelines for the good of society, assuring that, on our own part, we shall continue to provide economic reliefs to the people to minimize the unintended hardships these guidelines have inflicted. The President reminded worshippers that COVID-19 is a worldwide affliction, with churches and mosques closed around the world, while social distancing has been imposed to safeguard public health. The President further stated that we can create the greatest impact by putting into practice the noble teachings of our religions. In whatever we do in life, we must put the fear of God in our daily activities in order to make our society better. He reminded Nigerians of his efforts to root out corruption in the country, stating that the efforts had so far brought a lot of changes in the country's polity. President Buhari appeals for more support and understanding as investigations are carried out on both legacy and fresh cases. Data feeds are coming through in one place simultaneously in all our social media platforms, channelstv.com, youtube.com/channelsweb. Follow us on our Apple, Android, Fire, and Roku TV as well, and tweet at CTV. Use the hashtag State of the Nation. Let's get your thoughts in. It's prime time in Lagos. State of the Nation starts now. You're welcome to the show. I'm Olumide Macaulay. President Muhammadu Buhari reiterates his call on Nigerians to continue to exercise patience and show understanding over the inconvenience caused by the precautionary measures taken for COVID-19, especially on the regulations on places of worship. Let's take a look at his message to Nigerians.
I wish Nigerians the best of luck, and in the Eid al-Kabir sermon, the Imam has said it all. We want security, prosperity, and well-being of all Nigerians. And I want Nigerians to be very conscious of their country. And what we inherited when we came 2015 was Boko Haram northeast and the militants in the south. Nigerians know that we have done our best. What is coming up in northwest and north central is very, very disturbing indeed. But I believe the military and the police and other law enforcement agencies I think they could do much better. They could do much better. But we are keeping them on the alert all the time to do their duties.
President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, we're now being joined via Skype on the program by Mr. Aliu Dodo, a public analyst. You're welcome to State of the Nation.
Macaulay, good evening. Thanks for having me on the program.
It's our pleasure. Firstly, what do you make of the president's message to Nigerians during this period?
Okay, first of all, I would like to send a goodwill message to all Nigerians, particularly my Muslim brothers and sisters, on the celebration of Eid al-Adha. May God allow us to see plenty more of it. Well, as for what the president said regarding the Salah message, on the part of the COVID-19 scourge, I think by now, I think people in the remotest part of the country too should know by now that there is this pandemic going around all over the world, COVID-19, and there's been so many sensitization, people, through social media, different platforms, telling people they need to take responsibility. So COVID has gotten to a stage whereby it's about taking responsibility individually, collectively, as a group. Because the reason why the economy was open, the people, the lockdown was eased is because of the economy. It's not that COVID has gone. And people should start realizing that fact, that it is now down to us as individuals and groups in the society. So it's not, whatever we're doing is just has to be complemented by the government. And we need to complement the government's effort by maintaining all the guidelines regarding the prevention of COVID-19. Now, coming down to the issue of security, that the president himself has admitted that his service chiefs has fell beyond, expectation. I don't, for it, that coming from the president, I don't think the service chiefs, if they have any honor left in them, I don't think they should remain beyond this festive season. If your principal has given a vote of no confidence on you, because what the president actually did was giving a vote of no confidence on his service chiefs, they've fallen behind. And security is something that people cannot take into their hands. The security situation in the North Central and in the Northwest, banditry, and all sorts, kidnapping and all, people cannot come together and fight. The government has to do. It boils down to the government to finish this scourge once and for all. It's not like the pandemic thing that people have to take responsibility by themselves. So if the service chiefs have any honor left in them, I think they should put in their resignation. Maybe the president is just giving them he's just giving them the honor for them to do the needful by themselves. It's an honor. The president is a man of integrity. Yes, I put you there. If you're not performing, you resign honorably.
And away from the service chiefs and security, because the focal point of our conversation is how we're adapting to the Eid al-Kabir celebrations in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. We know that the president is security conscious, as you have been so good to mention. But to take you back to what the celebrations for this year is about, even concerning the Hajj in Saudi Arabia, it's the same cautionary tone that is being sounded for Muslim faithful around the world. Low-key celebrations, only 10,000 people at the Hajj for this year, a 2 million yearly, I guess, around that figure event. Do you think the president is also, that the tenets of Islam is in keeping also with the president's decision on a low-key celebration in the face of this pandemic?
You see, Macaulay, this matter is not far-fetched. Saudi Arabia is the country that they are the custodian of the Islamic religion. And the world over, everybody has seen the precautions they have taken. I don't think that should be an issue at all in Nigeria, because everybody knows what is going on. And, you know, it shouldn't be an issue at all. Everybody wants to take responsibility. Everybody knows that these are the do's and don'ts of, you know, trying to curb the scourge of COVID pandemic. So even without the president telling us the social responsibilities to take, I think by now Nigerians should start taking responsibilities by themselves and not allowing, you know, sentiments of merriment of salah celebrations to let them, you know, remove their guard and do more than. I've seen a lot of places whereby the merriment this year was kind of low key, although some people still, you know, went beyond their the normal. They went beyond taking into consideration the guidelines of anti-COVID prevention. But be that as it may, people should learn to take responsibilities regarding this COVID-19 scourge thing. It's not about the president giving us salah message that let's maintain social distance, let's cover. No. We ought to take responsibility of ourselves. By now, people should know that merriment for now is just a matter of time. When the coast is clear and they tell us to start living our normal life back, let's sacrifice for the sake of people that are dying and everything. Let's just try as much as possible to adhere strictly to the COVID-19 guideline rules. That's my message to Nigerians.
How helpful do you think it was that, as far as interstate movement is concerned, the government had lifted the ban, and just before the Salah celebrations, for instance, the railway services from Abuja to Kaduna was open and people could move around freely, though a lot of the protocols are strictly being enforced in the train stations. How helpful do you think it is that there is an open route for movement for Nigerians all over the country? Or should the government have clamped down on that as well?
Oh my God.
You may proceed.
Yeah. To start with, like I said earlier, the reason why the lockdown was eased is not because there's no more COVID. The lockdown was eased. Oh my God. The lockdown was eased strictly because of the economy. And if people are not looking at that angle, that, look, it's because we need to revive the economy, we need to restart the economy, that is why the lockdown was eased, then there's a problem. People need to be sensitized that, look, this COVID thing is still there. The numbers, the curve has not flattened, the numbers keep increasing. Thereby, people need to realize that it's still there. We need to reopen the economy. That is why the lockdown is being eased. So people still need to take responsibility. The interstate movement, just because of the economic activities get towards Salah, yes, fine, the government was thoughtful about it, but it doesn't mean that people should now start traveling from Lagos to Abuja, or from Ibadan to Ilorin, or Lagos to Ilorin to go and do the Salah celebration. No.
But a lot of that, Mr. Aliyu, a lot of that is going on because of the celebrations. A lot of people have traveled.
Yeah.
A lot of people are still traveling.
Well, a lot of people are still traveling, but it's so sad, but government still needs to play the part of sensitizing the people that, look, we are using the lockdown not because there's no more COVID. It's because of the economy. So people need to get that straight. People need to understand that fact. If it is not compulsory for you to go out, stay indoor. There is a lot of things you can do via the internet that you don't have to go out. So many things. Save the people, save the public, the stress of spreading the virus. You're transporting yourself in public transport. If you have it, you're spreading it. If you take it from your house to your place of work, people will catch it from your place of work and take it to you. If you have to stay home, stay home. If you don't have to stay home, take the necessary precautions. Wear a face mask, maintain social distancing, use your hand sanitizer regularly, and with God on our side, we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
In the president's message to Nigerians, yes, we will be fine. That's what we pray and hope for. And in the president's message to Nigerians, he mentioned social distancing as something that should be adhered to. In your observations, do you think that has been happening, especially in view of...
That is one area that is giving me serious concern as far as the prevention of COVID is concerned in Nigeria. Yes, people are wearing face masks in public places, in groups, in gatherings, and to a reasonable extent, they are adhering to the sanitizing of the hands and washing of the hands too. But you see, that issue of social distancing is where I have a problem. To be honest with you, the public are not maintaining social distancing. The public transports are not doing it. They were doing it at the initial stage of the ease of the lockdown. They were doing it initially, but it got to a stage where the transport people want to maximize the potentials that the increase in the transport fare has given them because of the COVID, and they are now carrying normal. It's absurd. The social distancing rule is something that needs to be, enforced strictly. Not when the Lagos State government started saying that they will start, arresting people without face masks in public. No, that social distancing rule, that too is important, but that social distancing rule is something that needs to be worked in. Yes, some banks and eateries and some other corporate organizations are trying as much as possible to enforce social distancing rules. But public transport and some other areas, even in marketplaces, open marketplaces, social distancing is not being adhered to strictly. And that is where I have a problem, with the rules of the... I have a problem with that, seriously. The government needs to do more about enforcing the rules of social distancing, and people really need to take responsibility. It's very, very important, Macaulay.
And we hope that that occurs where people do take responsibility for those who are not doing so, and for those who are doing so, that they continue. Thank you so much for your contributions and your opinions on today's program, Mr. Aliu Dodo, a public analyst, and a very happy holidays to you.
Thank you very much for having me, Macaulay, once again. And I'm glad I'm here, and I wish my fellow Muslims many more Eid al-Adha in the future. Thank you very much. A pleasant evening to you all.
Thank you very much. You're watching State of the Nation. Coming up, the country's anti-graft war. Stay with us. Thank you so much indeed for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, this is State of the Nation. Now, there are so many probes in various sectors of the economy set up to get to the bottom of alleged corrupt practices of government officials in the helm of affairs in some agencies. To narrow this down, the ongoing probe in the Niger Delta Development Commission, the NDDC, has been an eye-opener to Nigerians on how resources end up in private purses or how they're misapplied or misspent. Now, joining us to discuss this, we have Mr. Jide Ologun, a legal practitioner. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you. You're welcome.
To get straight into it, what's your view of the probe initiated by the National Assembly concerning the NDDC?
It's quite mind-boggling if you consider the amount of money involved that the government has purposefully channeled towards the development of the oil-rich region, because the NDDC was established in the year 2000, and that is 20 years back, in time now. And in the year 2008, late President of Nigeria, Musa Yar'Adua, established the ministry under which NDDC came as a parastatal. And a humongous amount of money has been challenged towards that development. But today, what can we find in the Niger Delta region? Poverty and absence of basic infrastructure that can drive economic revival and prosperity in that region. And it's so bad that the indigenes from that region are the ones entrusted in managing these huge resources. And it's also quite embarrassing, the revelations that are coming out. I recall that when the acting MD was brought before the House of Representatives, he really acted as the acting MD. He fainted. And shockingly too, the National Assembly, through the Speaker of the House, said that he didn't need to come back, that he has submitted a report. Then they look at that. They were even telling him to shut the mic and stuff like that. So it's as if there is a collaboration towards the mismanagement of the resources of this country. And the minister also alleged that some members of the National Assembly are beneficiaries of the several contracts that have been awarded through the NDDC without visible returns on investment. So it's really, really, really disturbing what we are getting from those who are supposed to be leading us out of poverty onto prosperity. And it calls for serious attention. But then, having said all this, you consider Section 36 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended. These issues we are making reference to are just allegations at this point. There is no prosecution yet, so there is this presumption of innocence. So if these allegations are not driven to the point of prosecution and nobody is pronounced guilty, then it will just be one of the several stories that we've been having. Recall that before the NDDC probe, Ibrahim Magu, the former acting chairman of EFCC, also found himself in the hands of a panel with several disclosures of mismanagement of funds, insubordination, and in fact, the Attorney General of the Federation described him at the time as a liability to the anti-corruption fight. So now, when those who are expected to fight corruption are themselves, immersed in the cobweb of corruption, where do we turn as a people? It's quite disturbing. It's quite disturbing.
But it's very good you mentioned that these are allegations and these are, like, as it were, fact-finding missions that need to be proven before either party is persecuted. You mentioned the Mr. Magu situation, and we're talking about the NDDC situation. And before on this program, the last time we had a discussion, and we brought this to light on this program, on the NDDC probe, it was mentioned the will to see it through to the end, whether government has the will to do so, and it will not just end up as another charade where people are not happy with the outcome. What do you see that needs to be done, possibly, on the part of the National Assembly, as far as this probe is concerned, that will prove to Nigerians that they are serious, and if these allegations are proven to be true, the perpetrators will be prosecuted and justice will be served? Should a time frame be given for the committees to come up with their findings?
You see, basically, what the National Assembly is doing is just the performing oversight functions, and they are not the ones to prosecute. We have the EFCC that came up in year 2004 in response to the Financial Joint Task Force, when Nigeria was alleged to be one of the 23 countries making the fight against financial crime in the world difficult. So we have the EFCC, we have the ICPC, and we have Section 15, subsection 5 of the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended, that says that the state shall abolish corruption and abuse of office. So, but in the criminal justice value chain, there must be a thorough investigation, there must be a diligent prosecution, and there must be the committed judiciary. Right now, none of them has been brought to the mill of criminal justice. And until you bring them for prosecution, this matter will just go away. Remember the case of Ali Rubelo. Remember the case of Maina Abdurrashid. He's still in court now. And remember even the very fresh case of Wadume in the face of obvious allegations. You can see how it's going. So several cases like that. So you begin to wonder, are we really serious about fighting corruption? Talking about the capacity, we have the capacity, but are we deploying the capacity? Look at Babachi Lawal with the grad cousin scandal. What has happened to the key players in the Ikoyi gate? Where is OK today? So I doubt if we are serious beyond just making promises to fight corruption. And if anybody is claiming that corruption is fighting back, then corruption appears to be overwhelming the fighters of corruption. Particularly, I mean, it's so disturbing, really, that those who are given the mandate to fight corruption are themselves standing below the benchmark of accountability and integrity. But then, if you don't run them through the mill of criminal justice, this will just be mere allegations. And you cannot claim that they are guilty of any of the offenses. You heard Mark coming out to say it's dog eat dog, and he's boasting that he has done nothing wrong. So let the government go ahead. We have all the law enforcement agencies that can prosecute, but then are we willing to prosecute? And that is the case here now.
Is this then, therefore, not the preserve or the job or the prerequisite of the Attorney General of the Federation in these sorts of cases to shine some light on these issues and bring them to the fore from a practical and legal point of view, to have solutions at the end of the day? At whose threshold do the problems lie, as far as the government is concerned, to bring these issues to a justifiable conclusion?
You said the Attorney General of the Federation has the mandate constitutionally to handle these matters, and it should be in the interest of Nigeria, of the people, like we commonly say. But is that being done? That's the big question. That is the question you're also asking me, and the answer is no. Let's also refresh our memory that recently in this country, a drama sprang up that led to the removal of the Chief Justice of the Federation on the allegations of false declaration of assets. But he was given a soft landing. And so you cannot really say he was guilty of it, but he was removed from office. As we speak now, Magu has been removed from office as the acting chairman of EFCC. And yet you cannot claim that he's guilty of any of the allegations. So, and that is why some are compelled to say that quite a number of these media trial and sensational allegations are politically motivated. So if they have committed any crime, if they have committed an offense against the state, let the state go ahead and prosecute. And the question I ask is very simple. Nigerians are demanding for justice, and can we claim there's justice in the land? I asked a simple question. The acting managing director of NDDC came to the House of Representatives, fainted, and the speaker said he could go. The speaker even said that the medical doctor of the House of Reps will go and follow up on his health. So there appears to be a mutual relationship between them. Let's now assume that a young man stole the telephone of a governor on the street of Lagos, and he faints at the police station. What will happen to that young man? So there appears to be a conspiracy to continue to fool Nigerians. And what are the alternative costs of this corruption? Look at the state of our health facilities. Look at our infrastructures. Look at the state of poverty, a nation where about 100 million of the 200 million citizens are under the poverty bracket. You see, so when you put all this together, you ask yourself a simple question. Do we really understand the concept of good governance? Do we understand the concept of sustainable development?
I think that's where we'll end. I think that's where we'll end for the purposes of time. That's where we end this program today, this edition of State of the Nation, with that question. Thank you so much, Mr. Jide Ologun, for your contributions and your views on this issue.
God bless Nigeria.
Yes, indeed. And for the State of the Nation on corruption to be seen to be free and fair, then the process of persecuting criminals and investigating issues should be seen to be free and fair and speedy as well. That's where we leave it on the program today. Thank you for watching State of the Nation. I'm Olumide Macaulay.